That powerful Labor Day windstorm hit the area, igniting wildfires all across Oregon and Washington. This morning, we can tell you that crews are making progress towards getting those fires under control. According to Oregon's Office of Emergency Management, the fires have killed 9 people throughout the state and 5 others are still missing. Approximately 1 million acres have now burned statewide and more than 2,200 homes are destroyed. Here's the latest on Oregon's 4 largest fires. We're going to start in Marion County. The Lion's Head fire is 198,000 acres and 10% contained. The Beachy Creek fire, 192,000 acres, and it's now 25% contained. Meanwhile, in Clackamas County, the Riverside fire has burned close to 138,000 acres. That fire now 20% contained. And finally, one more in Lane County, the Holiday Farm fire. It's burned 173,000 acres and it is 14% contained. Something that's been great to see in recent days. A lot of people able to return to their homes. And we've also heard, Brenda, some incredible stories of volunteers who stayed on the front lines to fight the fires and really save their community. But what we're also hearing about are some stories of frustration right now from people who are looking to get federal help.
Kristen Severance talked with a woman who said saving her home was actually easier than getting a hold of FEMA.
It has been the longest week/year of my life.
Kate Smith is sitting in a charter school turned donation center outside Molalla. She remembers the moment she saw flames from the Beachy Creek wildfire out her window and called the non-emergency line.
And I gave her location and she said, "You need to put the phone down and leave right now." She said, "Get out."
She lives in a 10-home community called Elk Prairie in Molalla, near the Clackamas and Marion County border. 2 days later, the fire was getting close again. She posted on Facebook asking for volunteers to help.
And just, I don't know, like 100 guys showed up in trucks, like, pickup trucks with, the sprayers on the back, and saved our community. We lost one house the first day. The first one as you come into the community, the rest of them, the fire got very close to a lot of houses, but, they're all fine now.
Once we got everything shored up.
Some have nicknamed that group of volunteers the Hillbilly Brigade or Molalla Militia, credited for saving hundreds of homes.
It's surprising for most of the state, but for me living here, it's not a surprise. These are guys that I played with in the mud. These are kids that I played with football with. Those guys over there were my mentors in life. It's a solid group of people, and I would just encourage everybody, take the opportunity to know your community.
Now, Kate's trying to do her part to help the community. Through her work with nonprofits, she knows how to match resources to the people who need them and how to apply for federal assistance.
And so the way that I felt that I could give back to my community is help them navigate the FEMA process, because it is a bureaucratic nightmare. Just let me fight the fire again. I mean, honestly, that was easier than dealing with FEMA, dealing with trying to contact the senator's office, trying to contact the county. It has been hell. It has been worse than fighting the fire.
Oregon was approved for federal disaster assistance, meaning victims can get money for temporary housing, home repairs, or low-cost loans. But you have to apply. Kate helped a neighbor who lost his home apply and already had 2 applications rejected.
But even if that is inaccurate and for some reason we're doing it wrong, we've begged for an actual FEMA resource coordinator and have received no response.
According to FEMA's website, there is a response team in Oregon working with the state's Office of Emergency Management. Kate wants to see them in the communities hardest hit.
They're not sending FEMA representatives out here to our community for disaster response. And that's, this is the worst fire in the history of Oregon, and it just, I have no explanation for that.
I'm also working to connect Kate with someone from the Red Cross who can hopefully get her some help and get her some answers. If you'd like to help her out or her neighbors, I put contact information for them on our website. Just click on this story.
That was Kristen Severance reporting. Boy, bureaucracy, it is tough to get through. Now, we talked to a FEMA spokesperson. They told us here at KGW it's really important to read any letters from FEMA carefully. Sometimes it's just a request for more information. We also have information on how to appeal a denial on KGW.com. So far, by the way, FEMA has given out $1.3 million in assistance. Oregon Governor Kate Brown has vetoed several things in the state's budget, diverting money to the wildfire response. Those vetoes are on line items that impact various state departments. Combined, they'll preserve more than $65 million. The governor has also asked lawmakers to reserve at least $150 million in the state's emergency fund for upcoming requests relating to the fires. This morning, we're also tracking the return of protests here in Portland. Now that the wildfire smoke is cleared, demonstrations resumed over the weekend.
There was one last night, Brenda, but this one was different than most of the activity we saw throughout the summer. We saw people gathered outside this home on Mississippi Avenue where the Kinney family has lived for decades. The Kinneys say their home has been foreclosed and now they're facing evictions. So the demonstrators who were there last night say the family situation is an example of the bigger issue of systemic displacement of black families. It was thought that deputies were actually going to show up last night to enforce that eviction. So that's what led to this sit-in. But the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office told us they actually had no plans to do that. We also saw this protest on Saturday night where a group of more than 100 people marched downtown and they went back to one of the primary spots of the protest since May. That's the South Park blocks in front of the Justice Center and Federal Courthouse. There was no riot or unlawful assembly declared here on Saturday, but police said people did break windows at a few different businesses. And then this was Friday night. Things definitely more heated on Friday night when this group gathered outside the Immigration and Customs Enforcement building on the South Waterfront. An unlawful assembly was declared here, and federal agents used tear gas to break up the crowd. Portland police say 11 people were arrested.
Well, the big traffic headline on this Monday morning is the week-long closure of the north span of the Interstate Bridge. They're doing repairs to that side of the bridge, and that could lead to a lot of congestion. Chris McGinnis fills us in on all the details.
The Interstate Bridge carries on average about 137,000 vehicles a day. It's typical to see the morning commute stacked up to Main Street and the afternoon commute lined up into the Rose Quarter. Now, all of that traffic will use the southbound span, while the northbound is closed for repairs. The morning commute will use two southbound lanes. ODOT crews will use an adjustable zipper barrier to accommodate two northbound lanes for the afternoon commute. They'll use a zipper truck, like you see here, to move that barrier twice a day, once around noon and again around 2 a.m.
The transition going from the northbound lanes into the southbound span should be pretty easy. That's going to be clearly marked, and the speed limit's going to be down to a sort of a more comfortable 40 miles an hour.
4 ramps will also be closed, which means significant detours and extra traffic in unusual places. And it's likely that I-205 and I-84 see a huge uptick in traffic as well.
This is one of the reasons why it's crucial that people find an alternate. Pick a different time of day to go. Take mass transit. Work from home one day.
Meanwhile, C-Tran has just activated their bus on the shoulder route on I-5 southbound between 99th Street and the Interstate Bridge. When traffic slows to 35 miles an hour, C-Tran buses will use the left shoulder. This is a permanent change that will help 9 C-Tran bus routes stay on schedule. You may have already seen this bus on the shoulder concept on SR 14. And there's now a 1-year pilot project, both directions, over the I-205 Glen Jackson Bridge.